When will the Tories start to panic? The polls are only telling one story, and frankly, it's not good for Kemi Badenoch. Well, my name's Tom Harwood, and this is GB News Originals. Remember to click that subscribe button to not miss a moment. Now, slow and steady wins the race. So goes that old Aesop's fable. It's up there with Father Christmas and the Tooth Fairy for being just one of those things we tell children. And much like the fat magic presents man and the enamel obsessive Tinkerbell, the tortoise and the hare is another terrible lie. A terrible lie swallowed whole by the leader of His Majesty's most loyal opposition. Slow and steady was not the tactic adopted by Roger Bannister as he became the first recorded man to run a 4-minute mile. Slow and steady was not the approach of the Apollo program as NASA raced the Soviets for the moon. And slow and steady cannot be the attitude of a once great political party battling for its very existence. Now on Sunday, the respected polling organisation Ipsos released their first poll since last year's general election. They found a record 9-point lead over the Labour Party for reform. The same poll found the Conservatives on just 15%. That's the lowest share Ipsos has ever recorded for the oldest and, up till now, most successful political party in history. That's since they began their polling under the premiership of Harold Wilson. And just lately, YouGov has published their first MRP seat-by-seat megapoll. This is the fanciest kind of poll on the books. It's multi-level regression and post-stratification analysis, and it's their first one since last July, since the general election. It shows the Tories collapsing to 4th place, almost 5th place, and the Reform Party storming the map, 100 seats ahead of the Labour Party. Well, it's been swiftly memory-holed by some that under Rishi Sunak's caretaker leadership, while the Tories were utterly rudderless, the Conservative Party briefly regained a polling lead. Yes, the post-election fortunes for the Conservative Party peaked in November last year, and since then, the rollercoaster has been on an exhilarating journey south. You have to go back to April to find a single poll where Reform has not been ahead of the pack. And then back weeks before then to find one where Reform wasn't even joint first. But is this registering with parliamentarians? Well, let's look to Labour first. That party's party discipline has been shot to bits. Now, around a quarter of their MPs have decided they're on course to lose their seats and are acting disloyally over the benefits reform package as a result. This is a big issue for Keir Starmer, but not quite necessarily existential. But what of the party not just facing losing office as Keir Starmer might, but losing any relevance at all? Perhaps facing that extinction threat.
Do you want to save a boatload of cash this summer wherever you have a trip planned? The one thing you're going to need is access to the internet and on the go. And you can do that easily with Saily. Hit the link in the description to get 15% off your first eSIM plan ready for your trip so you can browse to your heart's content. Saily gets you a local SIM card you can use when traveling so you don't have to pay those crazy roaming fees just to send a message or check the latest news. Now they've got plans in over 160 countries, 8 regions, so pretty much everywhere, wherever you're going, they'll be able to make sure you're connected. So how does it work? All you've got to do is this. Hit the link in the description to download the app. It will work on iOS or Android. Buy a plan, you can choose an amount of data and time frame that suits you best, and then just install the eSIM on your phone. When you land at your holiday destination, you can activate your plan instantly. And if that wasn't enough, Saily eSIMs only ever have to be installed once. So when you go on your next trip, you just buy a plan for a new country, turn that eSIM back on, and boom, you're back watching me on GB News. I'll be using a Saily SIM on my next holiday because it's actually faster than some of the hotel Wi-Fis. You can get unlimited data if you want, so you can scroll away to your heart's content. And when you leave the hotel, you don't have to do that annoying thing of Wi-Fi hopping because you've got constant connectivity wherever you go. And they've got 24/7 support as well and a full refund policy if your eSIM isn't compatible. So get sorted for your next trip, download Saily using the link in the description below, and if you use the code NEWS at checkout, you'll get an exclusive 15% discount on us. So click the link, download Saily, and use the code NEWS at checkout.
Well, last week I found myself at a reception with the leader of His Majesty's most loyal opposition. Kemi Badenoch told the assembled journalists, politicians, and one Margaret Thatcher impersonator, don't ask, that the previous day Geoffrey Archer gave her encouragement in her role. The former Tory big beast was telling her of how Margaret Thatcher's time in opposition, saying, "The first 2 years were hellish. Just keep going. Just keep going." Now, those years may well have been hellish for Margaret Thatcher back in 1975 and 1976. But did they risk a political extinction event? When Thatcher became leader of the opposition in February 75, the polls did not sink as they have been doing recently for the Tory Party. No, they rose. Those polling numbers went up for Margaret Thatcher, not down. Comforting stories about how tough it was for the opposition in the mid-1970s bear zero resemblance to that existential crisis the Conservative Party finds itself in today. Now, sometimes in politics you have the space to ponder, to launch policy reviews, to obfuscate at legitimate media questions with the ever-irritating "come back to us in 4 years' time" response. Well, this is not one of those times. Despite the Labour Party's spectacular 11-month implosion act and Sir Keir Starmer's unique ability to turn a 174-seat majority into a U-turning chaotic impression of a hung parliament, the official opposition cannot simply sit by and wait for the government to self-immolate. It's true that overwhelmingly oppositions do not win elections, governing parties lose them. But while Labour is losing, the Tories aren't winning. It's also the case that when a governing party is hemorrhaging authority, credibility and votes, those votes do not by default migrate to the official opposition. Kemi Badenoch cannot take this challenge slow and steady as she's been trying to do. Nor can she spend hours doom-scrolling on her iPhone, as one unkind briefing to the Sunday Times alleged she had done in the wake of the local election results. Perhaps she was doom-scrolling The Tortoise and the Hare, Aesop's Fables, or internet slop, or something in between. In any case, in modern politics, it's not a game for slow and steady plodding. It's sprint after sprint after sprint. This is not a simple tortoise and the hare race. It's a tortoise and the hare obstacle course, an Aesopian total wipeout, if you will. Participants must sprint from island to island, or they miss the boat. There are staging posts in every parliament. The Tories were hit especially badly at the first one, this year's local elections. Let's not forget they lost 674 councillors and control of 16 councils. Now, each councillor loss is more than a data point or a blip. It's the loss of a funded foot soldier, the hollowing out of the voluntary party. Doing worse at a local election precipitates doing worse at a general election. Conversely, winning control of councils can sow the seeds for parliamentary gains. The Liberal Democrats understand this particularly. Well, in just over 10 months' time, this will matter more than at any other point in this parliament. Up for grabs, thousands of council seats, including all of the seats in big cities like London, Birmingham and Newcastle. 6 new combined authorities and their metro mayors too, plus those legislative elections in Scotland and in Wales. This, again, is where the next election is 4 years away implodes as an argument. Polls don't only matter on the day of the vote, polls matter today. Elections happen throughout the parliament. And looking at the state of play in Wales and Scotland, Reform is about to be gifted a huge amount more state-funded party infrastructure. So no, the Tories don't have years to sit and ponder. They do not have the luxury of taking things step by step, of being quite so public about their blank slate policy approach, which makes the proudly policy-free rhetoric of the leader of the opposition all the more curious. Of course, it would be silly to write the entirety of the next manifesto today, but sillier still is to be so brazen about not knowing what to put in it. Most voters are not news addicts. Most pay little attention to the day-to-day. They do not have time for long, complicated political answers. Most will not even want to tune in to the short political answers. What voters need most of all is vibes. Well, today the Tories aren't giving us answers, details, pretend details, or even those all-important vibes. Shadow ministers are left flailing in media rounds when asked what they would do in the place of the government. They've been given no policy crutches, not even the concepts of a plan. Anyone half listening simply thinks these people don't have a clue. Now, when the Tories won the 2015 general election with their long-term economic plan, remember that? Did they have a real document called the Long-Term Economic Plan with a detailed prospectus on how they'll manage the economy? Did they? Heck. They just wanted the people to hear that they had a plan, believe that they had a plan. Of course, there were always some policies and principles up their sleeves in case of tricksy interviewers ever backing them into a corner, but mostly, Tory politicians simply repeated those simple words: long-term economic plan. Most voters are too busy with life to catch more than the headline of a BBC or GB News news alert, or a half listen to a 1-minute news summary on a pop news music radio station. Good campaigns have one message and they hammer it relentlessly in the hope that people, or at least some people, might faintly pick it up. So what do the Tories need to do? Stop telling themselves fairy stories about being slow and steady. Believe the polls. Internalise what those numbers say. Stare into the abyss. Recognise that they are in the fight for their lives. Show hunger for power. Don't down tools. Don't admit the policy vacuum. Be guerrilla. Be on permanent campaign footing. Be the hare, not the tortoise. It's strange that after the leadership election, the losing candidate, Robert Jenrick, he appeared to continue his campaign, while the winning candidate, Kemi Badenoch, appeared to down tools and give hers up. Ordinarily, you'd expect it to be the other way around. Now, are the Tories doomed? Will they kick or keep Kemi? And is Nigel nailed on for next Prime Minister? Well, do get involved in the comments section below, and remember to subscribe to GB News. Visit gbnews.com too to stay in the loop across this quiet but meaningful political revolution.